This adventure begins in historic Fishtown of downtown Leland, Michigan, where Chloe and I are searching for the Manitou Island Transit Office to prepare for some last-minute details before our ferry ride to the island. You excited, baby?
Yeah.
We rested our heavy packs next to the dock where we would soon be departing for our backpacking trip around North Manitou Island, a complete wilderness experience. But first we had enough time to check out historic Fishtown here after we parked the car down the street at a nearby school. Fishtown is a really awesome, well-preserved, historical fishing shanty village on the shores of Lake Michigan. They really do a good job of celebrating the maritime culture that was prevalent here for many, many years. And they still host a number of active fishing vessels as well as privately chartered fishing fleets. And it wasn't long until our ferry showed up that was going to take us to the island, the Mishawaka, where it was time for us to board. We boarded the vessel today with what I was told was a rather large group of campers heading to both North and South Manitou Island. This ferry was going straight to North Manitou before it went to South Manitou, giving Chloe and I about an hour's cruise before we got to our destination. This ferry did come fully stocked with a bar that had snacks and drinks, so we just sat back with our Manitou Island iced teas and enjoyed the ride. It was a gray and gloomy day as we set off across Lake Michigan through the waters of the Good Harbor Bay. Off to the left we could see the Pyramid Point dunes in the distance, and just like that, after not long at all, we were arriving at our destination. As we're pulling up to the dock, we can see some of the buildings in the part of the island known as the village. These are some of the only inhabited structures that you'll find here. They are used by the National Park Service, as this is part of the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore. As we are pulling into the dock here, there's a Park Service ranger here to kind of greet the group and to help the ferry pull in safely. All the campers then kind of lined up in assembly line fashion, and everybody helped each other get each other's bags off of the boat so that the new and the old campers could make the switch and the ferry could take off in a timely manner. Luck must have been on my side as I almost lost my tent to the lake right as I stepped off the boat.
That almost went swimming.
Whoa, that was close. Now is time for the ranger chat in the village area to learn some of the rules and regulations of staying on the island.
I tested it. It's working.
The only place you can have a fire. Everywhere on this island, no fires except in those designated fire rings. Now, what type of wood can you burn?
After a quick and painless ranger chat, we were on our way. The chat is required to attend when you leave the ferry due to some of the rules and regulations of camping here are different than other dispersed camping in national parks or national forests, because this whole island is a national wilderness area. Chloe and I decided to head west out of the village area. This path took us past some old apple orchards, this one called Frank Farm. This island has a long history of inhabitation, including thousands and thousands of years by Native American peoples. Later on in the 20th century, it became a popular stopover for shipping vessels. It became popular farmland and vacation spot, and eventually in the 1940s and through the 60s, they imported a bunch of white-tailed deer for hunting lodges, which we are seeing some remnants of here today. We continued on towards the side trail towards Lake Manitou. Making the little detour to see this lake was awesome because we could tell walking up on it that this was going to be an epic spot to kind of sit down and have a break. We decided to pop a squat on this log here and enjoy the view of the lake for a while we refueled with some trail mix and beef jerky. We needed to talk about how we were feeling, how heavy our packs were, how far we wanted to walk that day, all the sorts of things to figure out the rest of our night. We were feeling really good at this point, so we had decided we were going to try and push all the way through and make it to the west end of the island for a sunset at Crescent Beach. We're back on the trail heading in a northward direction towards the famous Manitou Island pole bridge, as we can see here. This is some of the only flowing fresh water you'll see on the island. I'm pretty sure this is the only stream there is, so keep that in mind. We were lucky enough to find a friend here chilling out on the bridge, basking in the sun. We were absolutely thrilled.
You don't have to. It's up to you. Let's see what's Hey guys!
This was the first of many snake encounters, as this island is absolutely loaded with garter snakes. After saying goodbye to our friend and taking in our last sights of the wetlands, we were back on the trail heading past the Stormer camp and the Davenport camp, where we saw this cool historical artifacts, and then down the old grade, which is a converted railroad, an old railroad track. But the first stop at the Stormer camp was this awesome historical vehicle graveyard full of old logging trucks from the logging industry days on the island. This was an epic stop, my personal favorite. The logging truck graveyard can be found just off of the main trail, so if you're walking in this direction through the Stormer camps on your maps, you can't miss it. It's right off to the left, and there's actually vehicles on both sides of the trail, so make sure you slot in some time to stop here and explore and check it out. It's really neat.
This is cool.
This is just one of the many, many stops along the way where you can see historical artifacts and really surround yourself and immerse yourself in the times past of this island. A really, really unique feature for wilderness camping. After what was probably a little too far for us to be walking on day one, we were arriving at the beach of the old town of Crescent, where we were planning on spending the night. After a quick hike up and down the beach, we found a nice little cove to set up camp, and we were ready to start making dinner and to take in an epic sunset. And epic is an absolute understatement. The same way putting iPhone footage onto YouTube of this sunset is going to be absolutely underwhelming comparing to seeing this with your own eyes for yourself. If you've never seen a sunset over Lake Michigan, it is absolutely soothing to the soul. I highly recommend you get out and check it out. It's just gorgeous. And with that, we laid our tired bodies down in preparation for another big day of hiking in the morning, starting off with a landmark right away, which was Swensons Barn, this beauty right here. This was an awesome, really well-preserved barn, complete with some ruins off in the woods of the old homestead. It was open and looking ripe for exploring, so we just had to drop our packs and go check it out for a bit.
This room's full of old windows. This is like a... Look at this cute little ladder.
After an extensive exploration of the barn and the surrounding area, we were satisfied with our little break here first thing in the morning, so we were ready to hit the trail again, heading south along the western shore of the island, where we were finding snake after snake and having the absolute best International Snake Day 2022 any snake enthusiast could ever ask for. After a number of miles on the trail, it was time for us to pull over and refuel and take a little break. So here we are walking up to Frederickson Place, overlooking the beautiful Lake Michigan. This was an absolute epic spot to kind of sit and relax for a minute and take our packs off. Here we are walking just off adjacent to our shady little break space to this dune overlooking the magnificent Lake Michigan, looking out over these incredibly beautiful blue waters, looking towards South Manitou Island there, and back towards the mainland of Michigan off in the distance. And back on the trail, guess what? It's more snakes.
Snakes everywhere on Manitou.
Happy Snake Day.
Happy World Snake Day. Here we go. Okay, bye.
Continuing with our hike, we passed along the southern portion of the island here, where we came out on the beach located next to the old cemetery, where we found a perfect little spot for our camp to set up for night 2. We arrived at camp later in the evening and were again extremely exhausted from our day of hiking. So we ended up just setting up camp and going to bed rather quickly. Morning day 3 started off with a bright sunrise coming in straight through the front of our tent. So I really had no other choice but to get up and just start making my coffee and enjoy the sunrise as it came up. Chloe and I were booked on the return ferry that was the second to leave during the day, so it was later in the afternoon. So we really had nothing but time on our hands, as we were only about 2 miles away at this point from the village area where we would be departing from. This gave us plenty of time to kind of leave our stuff here for now and then walk out and explore some of the cool landmarks and ruins that were scattered around the southern portion of the island here. This old homestead was amazing and just beautiful to see. It came complete with a number of outbuildings located on the back side here, and just had a beautiful view of what I imagine must have been an old field or orchard that this place overlooked. I was completely taken by surprise when I was filming this building, and I noticed across the way that there were two little white fluff balls staring back at me. These two little vulture chicks were just a great cap to the day exploring here. They were just so precious and so cute. We just love them. We left them alone to grow up to be wonderful vultures and great stewards of our ecosystem here, helping us decay dead animal material. Gotta love vultures. Just around the corner was the cemetery here, complete with the cemetery register, all located within this fence here. And then what a view to have for a final resting place here, looking out over Lake Michigan there in the distance. We're heading up the trail here back to the beach to pack up our camp and to get our bags ready for the hike back to the ferry. And along the way, it was just more continuous wildlife sightings where we saw more snakes. And Chloe was able to pick up her first snake ever.
All right. Let's see this bird here. Hi, beautiful. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Next up, we saw this gargantuan toad. Towards the end of our trail for the day, we decided to explore all these wonderful old buildings around the village area, starting with these along Cottage Row here at the southern point. All of the cottages through this section were built by wealthy Chicago businessmen in the late 1800s through the early 1900s. They're all very beautiful homes meant to be vacation homes for wealthy people, as this was about a one-day boat ride from the city of Chicago. One of the cottages was even thought to be designed by a then 26-year-old Frank Lloyd Wright. It's a cottage, for some reason I don't have a picture of it, but it's a really cool section to check out just as you leave the wilderness area here along the trail. And what a view that these people had at their vacation spots. Absolutely gorgeous. We arrived back in the dock area to find a nice shady spot and relax until the boat got here, along with a number of other hikers who all were having the same idea as us. As soon as our ferry was seen in the distance approaching the island, the ranger kind of gathered everybody up and had us all go wait out on the end of the dock so that we could all be ready to make the switch with the new campers coming on and get the boat in and out of here in an efficient manner. We made sure to take in every last view while we could, while we were still here out on this beautiful water on the beautiful Lake Michigan. The ferry pulled up with a whole new boatload of campers ready to enjoy their own wilderness experience. We made the efficient exchange and we were back on the water cruising. This trip was going to take us to South Manitou Island before we went back to the mainland, so we had about 2 hours to sit back, enjoy our drinks and snacks from the bar, and read a book on this beautiful day sailing across Lake Michigan. We once again could see the marvelous dunes of the Leland MI Peninsula, and we passed the North Manitou Passage shoal light here off in the distance, a historic lighthouse in the area. And before long, we were back in Fishtown, heading back to the car for the end of our trip. We had an absolutely wonderful time.